So today, we're going to dive into a really powerful story. It's all about what happens when a hero falls. We're going to take a journey through this incredible loss, the just immense weight of a legacy, and what it actually means to be a hero when you're trying to live in the shadow of true greatness.
The whole thing starts with these three devastating words. Everything is over. I mean, that is a stark, brutal opening. It doesn't just hint at defeat, it screams finality. We're immediately dropped right into a world where it feels like all hope has just been wiped out.
And that's our starting point. A world that's just grappling with this huge void left by its greatest champion. This isn't just, a mission gone wrong. It feels like the end of an era. There's this feeling of absolute, crushing loss that just hangs over everything.
Now, to really understand this global tragedy, the story zeroes in on one person, Peter Parker. For him, this wasn't just losing some public figure. No, this was deeply personal. He lost his compass, his guide, his mentor. He basically lost everything that anchored him.
And that distinction is so crucial. What was lost was both a mentor and a hero. And this really highlights the two sides of the loss, right? The world lost a protector, sure, but Peter Parker, he lost a father figure. And that very personal void is where the story really finds its heart.
But just when that despair feels totally absolute, the whole narrative shifts. A message arrives. It's like a tiny flicker of light in this overwhelming darkness. A voice from the past is about to change, well, everything.
And it starts so simply, so informally. Hey kid, just 2 words. But wow, are they loaded with history and affection and a kind of familiarity that just cuts right through all that grief. It's a voice you should never be able to hear again.
And then you get the confirmation. If you are watching this, then I am gone. Can you just imagine the emotional gut punch of that? Hearing the voice of someone you've lost, speaking to you from beyond the grave, and confirming the one thing you wish wasn't true. Of course, it was the voice of Tony Stark, the mentor, the hero, the architect of this whole new age. And this message, recorded right before his death, it isn't an ending. It's actually a beginning. This brings us right to the central theme of this whole story, legacy. And we're not just talking about passing on a suit or some fancy piece of tech. No, this is about passing on a purpose, a responsibility. It's about what one hero leaves behind for the next. So, let's be really clear on what we mean by legacy. The definition is right there, something transmitted from the past. But this isn't about money or property. This is about inheriting an ideal. So the crucial question becomes, what exactly is being passed on here? And this is the heart of the entire message. You are not just Spider-Man, you are my legacy. Tony Stark is telling Peter that his real purpose isn't just to be a hero, but to be the continuation of his own life's work. I mean, that is a profound burden, but it's also an incredible honor. But how does someone become worthy of a legacy like that? Well, the story suggests the path is anything but easy. It argues that true heroism isn't something you're just born with. It's something you're forged into, and usually through immense pain.
This idea that only after pain is a true hero born, it's really the foundation of the hero's journey. It reframes suffering. It's not a setback. It's a necessary ingredient. The loss Peter feels isn't just some tragedy. It's the very thing that's going to shape him into the hero he needs to become.
And this illustrates that transfer perfectly. The hero lost, Tony Stark. The hero born, Peter Parker. One chapter ends and the next one begins, and they are directly linked. The mantle isn't just taken up, it's passed on, forged in the fires of that very loss. So what's the final instruction? The last piece of advice from the mentor to his successor? It's a simple, powerful call to action. Don't waste your life. Make it count. It's a plea, really, to honor the sacrifice by living a life of purpose, by carrying that legacy forward into the future.
And this leads us to a really powerful conclusion. If a legacy is carried on, can a hero ever really die? The story's answer is a definite no. Because a hero is more than just a person. A hero is an idea. And ideas? They're immortal.
This brings our whole emotional journey to its climax. The day the world lost Tony Stark was a tragedy. Of course it was. But it was also a day of creation. Because out of the ashes of that loss, a new hero, forged by grief and guided by legacy, was born.
And so, the story leaves us with this powerful, comforting truth. Heroes never die. They might fall in battle, their physical presence might be gone, but their impact, their idea, that endures.
And how do they endure? Well, they live on in our hearts.
Now, this isn't just some sentimental phrase. It means they live on in the memories of those they saved, and maybe most importantly, in the actions of those they inspired. Peter Parker literally becomes the living embodiment of Tony Stark's legacy.
And this brings us to our final thought. This story, yeah, it's about superheroes, but it speaks to a universal truth. We all carry pieces of the people who shaped us, our mentors, our family, our own heroes. So the question isn't just for Peter Parker, it's for all of us. Whose legacy do you carry, and how are you making it count?